For some time, JEPI was the go-to name for monthly dividends thanks to its high yield and monthly income. But these days, competition is on the rise, and there's two newer dividend ETFs that have been on the market that provide different strategies along with consistent and high dividend yields. And in this video, I'll be talking about what these two ETFs are and how they compare to JEPI over a variety of categories to help you pick the best ETF for you. First, I want to talk about the different strategies between these ETFs. To start it off, we have JEPI, the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF. JEPI's objective is to provide monthly income and S&P 500 exposure with less volatility. JEPI's strategy involves actively selecting stocks along with selling out-of-the-money S&P 500 index call options to generate that monthly income for you. And JEPI uses ELNs or equity-linked notes instead of selling call options directly on up to 20% of the portfolio. And all of this is being managed by an experienced group of portfolio managers that put in the work for you to get that income. Moving into this next fund, one of the challengers, we have GPIX, the Goldman Sachs S&P 500 Core Premium Income ETF. GPIX aims to provide regular income while also offering the potential for capital appreciation. Now, there's 3 reasons to consider GPIX. It seeks to provide consistent monthly income from option premiums along with dividends. Second, it provides core equity exposure with lower volatility while also dynamically selling call options. And this dynamic approach means they adjust the percentage of the portfolio that they write the call options on, which can vary from 25 to 75%. And last is that this fund offers diversified sources of income. The next challenger is SPYI, the NEOS S&P 500 High Income ETF. This fund seeks to provide high monthly income in a tax-efficient way while also offering the potential for capital appreciation. The benefits of SPYI's strategy is that it combines S&P 500 exposure with a call option strategy, which allows SPYI to generate high monthly income, and they can write their options on up to 100% of the portfolio. SPYI also takes advantage of tax loss harvesting opportunities, along with index options that are favorably taxed. And last, it uses a call option strategy that may include both sold and bought S&P 500 index options. Now that you understand these ETFs better, let's see how these other two ETFs stand compared to JEPI. Like I normally do, I'll be ranking these ETFs on a scale of 1 to 3 for each category, with 1 point for last place, 2 for second, and then 3 points for first place. This first category to compare is going to be diversification. When it comes to JEPI, this ETF has around 124 holdings in total, with top holdings in Nvidia, Microsoft, Meta, MasterCard, and others. And the top sectors of JEPI are in technology, financials, industrials, and that others is actually composed of those ELNs. Now keep in mind that JEPI may invest in other stocks that are not included in the index, so you could say that it loosely tracks the S&P 500 index. Next we have GPIX, which contains around 507 holdings, and its top holdings are in Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Broadcom, and a few others, so a bit different than the top 10 for JEPI. And for the sectors, we have technology up top, financials, consumer discretionary, and communication. Now, unlike JEPI, GPIX is much more strongly based on the S&P 500. And for SPYI, this ETF has around 510 holdings, with its top holdings in names like Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and others. The top sectors of SPYI are technology, financials, and consumer discretionary. And from the holdings and sector allocations, you can see that it's very similar to GPIX. Getting into the ranking for diversification, third place is going to have to go to JEPI. While all these ETFs give exposure to the S&P 500, JEPI loosely tracks the S&P 500 compared to the others, which makes it the weakest here. And since GPIX and SPYI are pretty much the same when it comes to the tracking, it's going to be a tie for first place for both of these funds. This next category is going to be one of the most important for these funds, and that's dividend yield and dividend consistency. Kicking it off with JEPI, this ETF has a dividend yield of around 8.5%, which is paid out monthly. If we take a look at the payments over the last year, you can see it's fluctuated quite a bit from as low as 33 cents to as much as 54 cents a share. So it can definitely vary a bit month to month, as JEPI isn't focused on providing consistent income, unlike this next fund. which is GPIX, and this ETF has a dividend yield of 8.13% and it pays monthly. Jumping to the past year of dividend payments, GPIX has been pretty consistent, ranging between 32 cents to 36 cents, which falls in line with the objective of this ETF, which is that consistent income. Next is SPYI, and this ETF has a double-digit dividend yield of 11.8%, and it pays monthly as well. As for the last year of dividend payments, SPYI has been very consistent in the income that is provided, with it mostly hovering at 51 or 52 cents for the most part. Definitely consistent and hard to complain about that. So I'll be scoring both dividend yield and consistency separately. For JEPI, when it comes to the dividend yield, it's going to come in second place as it's just a bit better than GPIX, and for its consistency, it's coming in last as that income fluctuates much more than the others. GPIX came in third place for its yield and a very close second for its consistency and income, although it was pretty steady. That leaves SPYI with first place in both categories with its yield of over 11% and its stable income payouts. This next category is going to be tax efficiency. JEPI, which I talked about earlier, uses equity-linked notes or ELNs to generate income instead of writing call options directly. These ELNs let the fund distribute option premium income to investors as dividends, and the income from selling the ELNs are taxed as ordinary income. And ordinary income is going to be taxed at your regular tax rate. Now, GPIX is going to be a bit different. Some of its income is going to be classified as ordinary income, while a majority will fall under ROC or return of capital. And ROC essentially defers taxes until you sell the shares or your cost basis becomes zero. Last up is SPYI, which has a small difference as well. SPYI uses S&P 500 index options, which are favorably taxed. Index options are classified as Section 1256 contracts from the IRS, and this allows them to receive 60% long-term and 40% short-term capital gains tax. Along with that, earnings are also distributed as return of capital, just like with GPIX. So you can see there's quite some differences between these three ETFs. When it comes to tax efficiency, third place is going to go to JEPI, since the payouts will all be ordinary income, making it the least efficient. Second is GPIX due to the ROC distributions, and then SPYI in first place again here, thanks to the advantages of those 1256 contracts for index options and also ROC distributions. This next category is about the cost of these ETFs. When it comes to the fees, JEPI has an expense ratio of 0.35%, costing you $35 for every $10,000 invested. GPIX comes in a little lower with an expense ratio of 0.29%, and then SPYI has an expense ratio of 0.68%, so quite a bit higher. This one is simple, and third, we have SPYI with easily the highest expense ratio of 0.68%, JEPI in second, and then GPIX is going to take first here with an expense ratio of 0.29%. And remember, these fees are accounted for when you're looking at the total returns. Let's get into the returns of these ETFs and see which one comes out on top. Just remember, these funds are focused on providing you with income, and there may be the possible potential for capital appreciation. JEPI has been around since May 2020, and since its inception, it's had annual returns of around 11.5%. GPIX is even newer, and since its creation in October 2023, it's had annual returns of over 22%, which is pretty impressive. And then SPYI, since its inception in August 2022, has had annual returns of nearly 14%, which is very solid. Since these ETFs are not that old and they were created in different years, I'm going to compare them based on when GPIX was created, since this is the newest fund. Here are the total returns of these ETFs since GPIX's inception, October 2023, and we can see that GPIX is pretty well ahead of the others with nearly 50% returns, with SPYI behind and JEPI in last. And if we just look at the share price returns, so not including dividends, just appreciation, we can see that GPIX is well ahead here, and SPYI and JEPI have been pretty close together, with SPYI slightly above in the last 2 months. GPIX's dynamic strategy allows them to adjust the percentage of the portfolio that options are written on, and by lowering this percentage, it essentially reduces the upside cap. So in a bull market like the one we've been in, would allow GPIX to benefit from more upside by writing options on a lower percentage of the portfolio. For this reason, I'm going to have to give third place to JEPI, second place to SPYI, and first place to GPIX. Because while it does have a high yield adding to those total returns, it also has a higher increasing share price. Now that we went through all the categories, let's see how these ETFs rank up against JEPI. After totaling up all the points for the different categories, this is the final result. We have JEPI in third place with 8 points, GPIX in second place with 14 points, and SPYI in first place with 15 points. I think this goes to show there's now some newer alternative ETF choices to JEPI that do just as good of a job, if not better, at providing you with monthly income that's based off of the S&P 500. This ranking is to help give you a different perspective on how these ETFs differ and perform across different categories to help you choose one that aligns with your investing goals. Now, whether you choose one of these funds or you split between two of these funds for the differences, I think they're all solid ETFs that do a good job of what and who they're intended for. And if you want to see some more options for monthly dividend ETFs, I talk about some of the best ones in this video here. Or if you prefer funds that offer growth and appreciation, then take a look at this video here on the 6 best ETFs to really build your wealth. I really appreciate you watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Keep investing, and I'll see you in the next one.